Now that you know all about constants, variables, and structs, we can talk about data types. So data types have been the keywords that you've been using as we declare variables. So for example, if we declare the variable integer, we use the keyword int to designate it as an integer data type. But what exactly are data types? To keep things simple, imagine that if you declare this variable named Boolean, you create a container for it. And by designating a Boolean data type, this container will only be able to hold Boolean values. So in that case, a Boolean value is either true or false. So that means the variable named Boolean can only hold a true or false value. So another one of these data types is called an integer. And integers are numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Numbers that don't have decimal places on them. Another one of these data types is called a float and a double. So floats and doubles may seem very similar. They're numbers that are non-integers and that can hold decimal places. A float is called a floating point number because the decimal point can float to different parts of the number. That's why it's called a floating point. And a double is called a double because it's double the precision of a float. It can also hold larger numbers than floats. But on the surface, they look very similar. The next data type is called a string. And strings are data types that are usually contained inside quotation marks, just like this. So it's a string if it's inside quotation marks. Now there's another data type that's a special data type that can hold multiple instances of data. And this is called an array. So the variable multiple booleans is a Boolean array, and we designate it by surrounding the data type with square brackets. And as you can see, this particular variable or array can hold 3 Boolean values, true, false, and true. So you can create an array of integers too, for example. So we can create the variable integer array, and we use square brackets and designate it as an array of integers. And we create an array integers from 1 to 5. So that's an array. So if you notice, I also have here a struct named storybook and a struct called green button that conforms to the protocol view. So it's a view that we use in user interfaces. Now these structs, green button and storybook, are also called types. That's because you can use them pretty much like a data type. So what do I mean by this? If you look closer here, where we declare the variable book, we designate it as a storybook data type. Because once we create this storybook structure, this storybook blueprint, we essentially create a new type. So when we instantiate the variable book, we declare it as a storybook data type and create a new instance of it using the instantiation syntax used with structures. The same can be said with views. So this is a button variable of type green button. And inside the button variable, we store a green button view. So views and structs can also be data types when used to declare variables or constants. That's the introduction and swift analysis to data types.